Hello once again, watchers of good anime. My name is Nick Pell and this is my review of Tokyo Godfathers. Now this is the third film from director Satoshi Kon. I saw his other film, Millennium Actress, last year and I quite enjoyed it from what I recall. And so, Fathom Events decided to bring this one to theater, so I had to go and see it. And so, let's talk about it. Now if you're not familiar, this film came out in 2003 and it takes place over the course of about a week, it would seem, starting out on Christmas Eve, I believe, and focusing on these three main characters who are homeless. We have Jin, who is an older alcoholic gentleman. We have Hana, who is a transgender woman, and then we have Miyuki, who is a runaway kid. And then they're all basically sticking around, living together on the streets, and they one night run into a young newborn child who's been abandoned in a trash heap, who they dub the name of Kyoko. And then they end up setting out on this quest in order to find her mother and her parents, and that is the majority of the plot of this movie. The main trio of this film works really, really well. I enjoy their chemistry. I think that they bounce off each other really well. The jokes land for the most part. There are multiple times throughout the film where I was laughing at dialogue or just things that were happening on screen. There's a lot of comedic timing with background drops and things of that sort, which I really found entertaining. The group themselves, just them as individuals, worked also really nicely because they each have their own background, their own history, their own stories. And I like seeing that stuff come to light and get a little bit more fleshed out because it gave them a sense of realism, and it made them a little bit more relatable than just these cookie cutter characters who are just going to be here for the sake of this movie. It gave them purpose and you got to see kind of where they're coming from, and like I said, it just made them seem more realistic, and I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed them on screen, and it made their interactions all the more meaningful as a result. One of the big themes of this film obviously is family, because you have this trio who basically works as a familial unit, where they have like the mom, the dad, the young kid, and then the newborn child, and they just work together in that capacity. I think it works really well, and it kind of brings home that idea that ultimately your family can be who you make it and who you want it to be. There's also just other themes regarding it as well. For instance, Miyuki, who's a runaway kid, you just see throughout the course of the film as you get to learn a little bit more about her character, what she ended up doing to cause her to run away, and just the regret that she feels as a result. And you see her father show up throughout the course of the film, as you can tell that he is just looking for her, where he wants to just find her and talk to her and forgive her for what she did. And I really like that theme about it. You also have Jin, who has this wife and this kid who initially you think something tragic has befallen them, but you learn it might be something else. And so there's that theme throughout it as well. And then you have Hana, who just desperately wants to be a mother, and when Kyoko drops into her arms, more or less, she has that wish fulfilled, and her wish has been granted and whatnot. And so I really enjoyed this theme of family throughout the course of the film, and it just really resonated well with me. The animation, for the most part, is good, I think. It's from 2003, so I can't really expect it to be up to par with like modern day anime, but for its time I think it looks really cool. The character models are all really neat and well done for the most part. The environments and the backdrops all look really, really cool, and I just enjoyed just looking behind the scenes when I wasn't trying to catch the subtitles going past the screen, and seeing just what the background images had, and just how subtle they can be at times when you're paying attention to them, and just other characters who appeared earlier in the film showing up in the background and maybe reacting to what's going on in that particular scene. It just worked really well. The ending I also enjoyed quite a bit. I think that it worked really well as a nice end cap to the movie. It kind of finished off this journey that they ended up going on, with a bit of a dramatic twist as well at the end, which I honestly did not initially see coming, but it kind of felt like in the back of my mind when we started to see these two parents of Kyoko show up and get to kind of see what was actually going on with them. I liked that, and I liked that it wasn't just a cookie cutter, oh hey, here's the perfect parents that ended up abandoning their child, let's just give their kid back to them. It it didn't really work out that way, which I quite enjoyed. The main real negative that I have about the movie, though, is not really the film's fault by any means. It's G-Kids, who, for the second time now in about a month, have not done great on subtitles. I know this is, again, from 2003. It's a while back, and so subtitles weren't really the greatness or as well done as they are today. But, G-Kids. Okay, so like a third of the way through the movie, there is a Latino or someone speaking Spanish, essentially, who ends up coming into the movie for like 10 minutes or so. There's a couple characters who are speaking Spanish. They don't subtitle that stuff for some reason. If it had been like the main character who was interacting with them just didn't understand them and that was part of it, then fine. But eventually it seems like Miyuko, who is the main person interacting with these two people, does understand what they're saying. And me having taken 2 semesters of Spanish in college, thankfully, I was able to pick up a little bit of what was going on somehow. So it didn't bother me as much, but it still just threw me off completely when one character suddenly wasn't subtitled. So I thought it was just this huge oversight which was happening with the movie until I started realizing that they're speaking Spanish, and that might have been the reason why it wasn't subtitled. It's still really annoying, and I wish that like now, like 17 years later, they would have gone back and subtitled the Spanish, because it feels very out of place to not have that done. There's also times with the subtitles where like it'll be a very quick word or something, and the word will literally stay on screen for a half second and then move to the next phrase. And so in the subtitles were sometimes like a couple seconds ahead of the dialogue that was actually being spoken, and so it felt very off at times. There are some times where it lined up fine, and there were just times where it seemed like a second or two delayed or ahead or what have you. And so just the subtitle issues in this film were the biggest negative for me personally. I didn't really have any other issues with the film itself, but the subtitles just kind of brought the experience down just a little bit for me, unfortunately. But overall, guys, subtitles aside, I think Tokyo Godfathers is really quite well done. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I like the trio, the family element, the animation's good for its time, and the various stories that these 3 individuals have and that you get to see on screen. It works quite nicely, and I really enjoyed the film overall. But those are my thoughts on Tokyo Godfathers. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. What is your favorite film by Satoshi Kon? I will probably end up seeing all of them eventually, as Fathom Events does theater or theatrical showings for them. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on watching.